Okay, so are you ready, guys, now? Very good. Okay. So let's start with the first grammar that we have to talk about. Okay, the first grammar that we have to talk about is called the grammar, or let's say the grammar of must, have to, and can. How are they used? What meanings do they give? And those things. So we're gonna start first with, of course, must itself, and we're gonna go on to have to and can as well. Okay. So must itself is also known as a modal verb, so that's something that we should all know about. It is a modal verb, okay? And it is mostly used for, talking about obligations, right? Or you can say things, let's write it here, things which are necessary. Things which are necessary, okay? So for those things we can use must, and must has a very good thing as well, that it's not, let's say, subject dependent. Like, it is not what, guys? Not subject dependent. Now it is kind of confusing to hear this, but let me tell you what it means. Okay, so if a verb is subject dependent, it means like it has to change depending on the subject. For example, I live in Kabul, but if I change it to she, then I have to say what? She lives in Kabul. So live in here takes an S, okay? But must is not like that. So must is not subject dependent. It doesn't depend on the subject, and for any subject that you use with it, must is going to be must, okay? And the structure for this is going to be like a subject, of course, plus must. Sorry, a friend of yours came, I think. Yeah. Okay, subject plus must plus verb number one, if you want to say it, or you can also call it an infinitive verb. Okay, and after that you can continue to complement object, whatever you want. So let's give an example here. Example number one, we can say that Sonia must study her lessons, right? So this is one example. Another one, now we're going to change it a bit from Sonia to completely like you. You must study your lessons when you get the chance to do so. See? Now, you can continue to however long you want, but they're not the important part, okay? So this is the part that we have to focus on. You must, Sonia must, after that, or after must, you have study, verb one, study, verb one, okay? So they're not changing. Do you have any questions until now, guys? Okay, so let's go with one more, which is called have to. Okay, and we will talk about the difference between must and have to, because they kind of look the same, right? Not really look the same. Sorry, they do the same things, but they are different in their own ways, of course. So some people actually call have to a semi-modal verb, semi-pure modal verb, sorry. So you can call it that, but I don't really suggest it right now. Because we don't even need it. But we're gonna come down here, okay? So the uses of have to is kind of like the same as must. It is also talking about obligations and things which are needed or compulsory. Or what, guys? Compulsory. Compulsory just means like it is supposed to be done. Like, it's necessary to be done. Okay? Even going as far as to say that you're being forced to do it. Yeah, but one problem that have to has is that it is what? Subject dependent. Okay, so it relates to a subject, or let's say the form that it takes is actually dependent on the subject that comes before it. So the structure, let's talk about the structure once. It is going to be like subject, have to, sorry. Okay, subject plus have to or has to, plus we have a verb one, okay, and after that, or you can also call it an infinitive, and after that you can go on and put a complement or object. It doesn't matter. Okay, so some examples can be, for instance, let's go with James. James has to work hard if he wants that promotion. Okay, so James has to work hard. Another one can be like, let's go with Brock. Brock has to watch American movies if he wants to learn English effectively, right? So now, as you can see, I'm using James and Brock, and both of them are using has to. But if I change it, if I change the subject to, for example, I cannot say has to. Okay, has to does not work this time. So what do? I'm going to change it to I have to. I have to what? Can you continue it? Anyone? Come on. I have to. I have to play what? Let's go with soccer, okay? I have to play soccer. Now, I'm not sure why you have to play soccer, but you know, it is an example. Thank you. Okay, so these two are very similar, as we said, okay? Must and have to, both are mostly talking about the things that are obligations to others, okay? So you are obligated to do it. But they do have some differences. They do have what? Some differences. If we just say like must versus have to and talk about the differences, you know, there might be some things. So let's see. Let's go with number one. Okay, so one difference that I can think of right now is that with must, when you use must, it's kind of like an inside force. Okay, so both of them are, of course, forcing. Both of them are obligations to you. Okay, but the first one is like if you use must, I mean, let's write must here. I think must is like inside force. Like no one from the outside is forcing you to do it. Okay, you are forcing yourself if you use it. For example, if you say like, I must study for exam next week. Now, this is a very good sentence. It's not bad. It is very good. It has all the things that you need in a sentence in English. So it's correct. It's complete. But in here, the moment you say the word must, it shows that, you know, it's an inside force. So the teacher is not forcing you. Your parents are not forcing you, okay? And neither is the like school principal or anyone. You are saying that, oh, I have to do it. So it's like you're putting the force on yourself, okay? However, if you go with the second one, which is like have to is mostly, not always, now be careful, not always, sometimes, you know, we have to do some changings, but mostly have to is going to talk about like a outside force. It's going to talk about what? An outside force. For example, you can say, I have to wash the dishes. Now, of course, good sentence, but it shows that, you know, it's not something that you put upon yourself. Maybe your mother told you to, right? Or maybe your father told you, or your elder brother or sister. So someone told you to go and do it. Someone else is forcing you. So the force is not coming from within. It's not coming from inside. It's coming from outside. Is it good? Yes. Okay, so there might be some other differences as well. I'm not going to talk about all of them, but number three is a little important, so I'm just going to talk about it. It's about the tense. Okay, it's about the tenses. Now, what do I mean? For must, you can only use it in the present tense. Okay, have to. Okay, have to, with a little change in the form, of course, can be used in future. Can be used in what? In future, in present, and also in past. Okay, now this is something like, you know, some people say that, okay, so I can use must, I can use must in the present. For example, I can say, I must work hard. This is right. But if I want to talk about something in the past, what do I do? Okay, so if you want to talk about something in the past, then you have to use the, verb to version, let's say, or the second form of have to. With must, you have to use it. So that's what is gonna come, or that's what's gonna replace it. Okay, so in the past, you have to say, I had to work hard, even though it is an inside force, you have to use had to. Okay, because there is no other way. Must does not go to the past. If it does, then you have to use the version of have to there. And the same here, so sorry, not the same here. These ones have their own. For example, with future, you just add like modal verbs of will, for example, with it. Will have to, or am going to have to, which is a little funny, but it is grammatically right. So you're gonna say like, I will have to kill anyone who touches my phone. Okay, so another one is like the present one. Of course, present is very easy. I have to eat my salad. And the last one is like a past tense, and we already have one example of it, but we will write one more. So we're gonna write she had to write an essay of 500 words. Okay, so these are just some of the differences that must and have to have, even though they have most of the same uses, like obligations here and obligations there. But it's good to know the differences as well. Okay, do you have any questions in must and have to? Very good. Okay, going to the other one, guys. Let me see. The other one is what? Can. Okay, the other one is can. Now, how do you use can? Okay, let's start with can itself. One thing, guys, that you should know is that can be positive and also negative. Okay, and inside the positive, let's say sentence, positive sentence that is using can, the pronunciation of can is not actually can. The a, this a from can, this one actually changes to a schwa. Okay, so you're gonna say can, very, very short. How? So let's give an example. For example, if you have a sentence like I can swim, I can swim. In here, like you're not gonna say I can swim, I can swim. Like that is not right. Okay, you have to say what? I can swim, I can swim. Can, very short. But in the negative, in the negative, you can actually say it in a different way. For example, same sentence, but this time, because I'm talking about the American accent, in the American accent, mostly, guys, when you have an N and a T next to each other, right, the T becomes a bit silent. So if not completely silent, you're just gonna make it as weak as possible. Okay, so when you don't say it, you have an N. Now, the problem here is, guys, if you don't have the T, we're saying that make it completely silent or at least near silent. This one and this one don't have any differences, right? But that is when you remember in the positive sentences, the A changes to a schwa. But in the negative sentence, in the sentences, because can is actually an auxiliary verb, and negative auxiliary verbs are always stressed, right? So you cannot change the vowel into a schwa. So you have to keep the short A sound, like ah, ah. Okay, so when you read it, you're going to say, I can swim. I can't swim. I can't swim. Now, the faster you say it, the better it's going to be, but you have to practice, okay? So, first one, I can swim. Second one, I can't swim. I can swim. I can't swim. I can swim. I can swim. So, that is really, really good. I mean, this was just about pronunciation. Now, we have to go to the thing that your book is actually talking about, and that is the uses, okay? So the uses of this is going to be like, you can use can for actually talking about, what do you say, like a choice, right? Yeah, you can use it for giving a choice to some people. What do you mean? For example, you can tell someone, hey, you can smoke inside the class. if you want. See, now even if you don't say the word if you want, or the phrase if you want, it still is going to give the person, a feeling of choice. Some people might say ability. That is right, it is kind of ability, but can has lots of uses. Okay, so one of them is presenting a person with a choice. So you can smoke inside a class. Okay. Or for example, yeah, she can watch British or American movies. We are not forcing her to watch Indian movies. See, like, again, showing choice to another person. Okay, but this is like kind of the only thing that we mostly need in this book, so that's enough. However, but if you use can in negative, right, it becomes can't. Now the usage is a bit different. Okay, now can in negative has the uses or the usages of how do you say it, like prohibiting something, right? Not allowing, actually, right? Prohibiting or not allowing somebody to do something. So, what do you mean? Let's give an example. Um, let's say that you are, taking a mathematics test, right? You're taking a math test, and on the math test, you have to answer very, very, or solve very, very hard and complex problems. So you need a calculator, but the teacher is not allowing you, right? The teacher is not allowing you. So what can that teacher say? He or she can say like can you can use what? Any calculators during the test. Done. Okay, you can't use any calculators during the test. That is done. That is very easy, right? So the same with any other sentence that you want. You can just make it, but be careful that can't in negative form shows prohibiting something or not allowing people to do something, and can in the positive one shows a choice to a person. Any questions till now? Good. Okay. And one more thing, guys. This is like the negative of must. Okay. Who knows the negative of must? Raise your hand if you know it. Good. Does it have contracted form? Does it have a contracted form, guys? Good, good. So mustn't. Okay, now of course mustn't, people don't really use it a lot, but it is actually a word in English, so we should know it. Okay, so mustn't. What does mustn't do, guys? Can you guess what it does? Anyone? Really? Mustn't. Negative. Okay, okay, it's okay. Thank you guys, thank you. So mustn't, okay, the negative must not, I mean. Mustn't is actually kind of like another, you know, alternative, let's say, yeah, another alternative that you have for using the negative of can, like can, prohibiting something, okay, or not allowing someone to do something, okay. So an example can be like, um, you mustn't, what, you mustn't use any, what do you say, you mustn't use any, again, should we go to calculators? No, let's go here. You mustn't use AI to write your essays, a problem that currently people have a lot. Okay, yeah, see, you mustn't use AI to write your essays. If I change it, I can also say what? You can. You can use AI to to write your essays. Okay, so very easy, not very hard. Do you have any questions in this grammar, guys? Must, have to, and can. Okay, then let's continue and check the other one. What is the other one? Okay, so the other one is will and might for predictions. Will and might for predictions. Okay, so very easy, both of them. Very easy, both of them. But we gotta know the differences as well. So okay, will and might for predictions. Who knows the meaning of prediction? Anyone? Predictions. No one knows it? Hello? Predictions. I don't think it's that hard. Okay, then. Let me say it. So, predictions, guys, and please note it if you don't know, okay? Prediction is like a, what do you say, a forecast, right? Like, trying to, how do you say, let's write it, forecast of a future event. If you don't know, forecast is like saying that something would happen before it even has, or before it even would. Okay, so kind of like, tomorrow it would rain, right? So who knows? No one knows it for 100%, but they are called predictions about the future. So you're forecasting your future event. You're saying that, okay, there's this much of a chance, there's this much of a possibility that, this thing would happen. Okay? So technically, we can say that will and might can both be used for predictions. We can use them both for talking about the future. So if we use them, let's give one example for both. For will, we can say, like I, or not I, let's change it. We're gonna go with John. John will write a book in the near future. Okay, very easy. John will write a book in the near future. So if you continue and go, for example, with might this time, okay? So we're gonna give a similar kind of sentence. So we're gonna say like, who should we say? Cody will will what? Will make dinner for his family next week. Okay, so they're kind of like predictions about the future. Again, some of them might be a bit near 100% right, and some of them might not be that much near 100%, but they are both predictions. Now, the difference between these two, sorry, let me change this. Yeah, the difference between these two is like Cody might make dinner or John will write a book, is that when you use will, there's a much higher chance. Okay, let's write what? Much higher chance of that thing or of that event coming true. Okay, but with might, it's not very high, so it's kind of like in the middle. That's right, a mid chance, let's say. If we had to give it a percentage rating, so we're gonna say with might is gonna be like around 50%, or a bit lower or a bit higher, give or take, let's say. And with will is gonna be like around 80%, even though nearly like 90 sometimes. Okay, so and be careful, these things are not set in stone. Every book, every grammar book, every teacher even have different ideas or has different ideas about these things. Like some people say this like nearly to 99%. Some people say that it doesn't even reach 90%. So they might change, but this is a very, very good rule of thumb to remember. Okay. Any questions here? And one thing, guys, is the structure. I'm just gonna write it here. I think you already know it still, but the structure for both of them, because both of them are modal verbs, so it's going to be the subject plus the modal verb, and we're going to put will or might, choose whichever you want, plus verb 1. Okay, you can also call it infinitive, and then you can continue with complement object, whatever you want. Okay, so this is kind of like the structure, and if you want to make it negative, you just have to add not. Okay, so let's write it here. Just add not to the modal verb to make it negative. Okay, so let's continue and check the other grammar. The grammar of Unit 6 we have here is imperative and should. Okay, imperative and should. And this is very easy because both of them are actually used for kind of the same thing in this book. Okay, imperative and should. Okay, so imperative and should are both, let's write it here, the uses. Okay, so they're both used for giving advice. They're both used for giving advice, okay? But the difference between them is that, the structures are different, okay? The structures are a bit different. Okay, so let's talk about what the differences are. Okay, the structure for, let's say, for should, the structure for what? For should is going to be like the other modals. So subject plus should plus base form or verb 1, okay, or infinitive as you can call it, and you can continue it with other stuff as well. And the imperative one is a little different because the imperative form, let's say, or the imperative sentence is like little different from the normal sentences. The normal sentences, also called declarative sentences, they have to have a subject. They have to have what? Subjects. But with an imperative sentence, you don't need a subject. Even though you have a subject, but it's kind of hidden. The subject, let's put it here so that you can take it as a bullet point. The subject is always you, and it is always hidden. Okay, so you cannot really see it, but it's there. So if there's no subject, where does it start from, right? If there's no subject and it's not a modal verb, so it's supposed to start from what? From verb 1. And the structure for imperative is, as I like to call it, just verb 1. Okay, the easiest thing of them all, and of course you can connect it with anything else you want, but always start from verb 1. Okay, it doesn't go to the past tense, it doesn't go to the future tense, because that doesn't just work. Okay, imperative is made for the present. So when you give an example, for example, you can say like, go and open the door. See, I used two verb 1s, one here and one here. Okay, I can also go with one of them. So stand up, please. You can add like the the magic words please and these things even at the first, like please leave now. See, like all of them, but the main focus is on the verbs. The main focus is what? On the verbs. Yeah, and both of them are used for what? For giving advice. So technically, if we have a problem, let's list a problem here. Okay, so the problem is that I can't sleep at night. What should I do? Very good, very good. Okay. So, sorry guys, there were some technical issues, let's say. Okay, yeah, so let's say that the problem is I can't sleep at night, right? The problem is what? I can't sleep at night. And you select what should I do? So the answer or the advice to this problem can be either given in an imperative form or a sentence with should. So who can say it for the first one? Imperative. Yes, Sonia. That is awesome. Don't drink coffee. Okay. And anyone for should? The problem is I can't sleep at night. If you have any ideas for that, please share. We have Sonia again. Yes, Sonia. You should go to a doctor. Okay, you should go to a doctor. Very good. Thank you, guys. Thank you. And this is done. Okay, so this was the other grammar topic. Okay, going and checking the book once more. We have uses of to plus infinitive. Uses of what? To plus infinitive. So let's just bring it here. To plus infinitive. Okay, so the infinitive is a dictionary form of the verb go, swim, be, have, and those things. So kind of like it's just verb one. Simple words, verb one, okay? We use to plus infinitive to, for example, like to go, to swim, and these things in many different patterns. It means like in many different places, okay? And the negative is like putting not before the to, not after the to. Some people say to not go, which is actually correct in some places, but as grammatically accurate as we can be, we have to put it at the first, okay? So not. Okay. And these are the four, let's say, patterns that mostly we can see them in. First one is infinitive of purpose, the easiest of them all in my idea, and actually the one that has the most usage, okay? What was that? Sorry. We use infinitive to show purpose. Okay. So to show purpose, we use infinitive. Let's give an example. You can say like, I work to earn money. I work to earn money. So I work is like, yes, I'm working. That's good. Now, if you want to show the purpose or the target, if you want to show what? The purpose or the target of why you work, right? Of why you work, then you use to plus infinitive. See? To plus infinitive for verb one. So I work to earn money. Kind of like to earn money, I have to work. To earn money, I have to work. So another one like I play video games to enjoy life. See, I play video games to enjoy life. See, now you have the verb here, the main verb, and you have the to plus infinitive even here after the direct object. Also correct, it gives meaning. I play video games to enjoy life. Okay, so more, let's talk about usage number two or use to. So use number two is going to be like verb plus to plus infinitive, and this one is a bit not as like I cannot give you a rule for it, but you do have to study some lists that have these verbs. Okay, I will share after the video as well. So let's write it. It's like verb plus to plus infinitive. Infinitive. Now, something that you should not forget, guys. These are not any verb. These are not any verb, okay? So these verbs are what we call like certain verbs. Not all of them, but some of them specifically can be used in this fashion, okay? So your book has also given some of them, for example, or like we can use choose, decide, want, would like, and these things. So I'm gonna choose like I'm gonna choose, and one more as like remember. Okay, so let's say like I choose to work hard. I am not forced by anyone. See, I choose to work hard. So I choose to work hard. Choose is that certain verb, and after it you have to plus infinitive. And one more is like I remembered to buy some tomatoes from the supermarket. Okay. Okay, let's correct this. Okay. Yeah, so this is use number 2. Use number 3 of 2 plus infinitive is actually a little different. It has an adjective. Okay, it has an adjective plus 2 plus infinitive. Okay, let's write it. Adjective plus 2 plus infinitive. Okay, so what does that? Okay, sorry, this is also wrong. Okay, yeah, so adjective plus 2 plus infinitive, how can we use that? Most of the adjective or many of the adjectives that we have today in English can be used in this format, and it's really, really good to do it. It's going to improve your speaking as well. So mostly, like, you might have heard from your teachers, like they say, guys, it is important. It is what? It is important to do homework or to do your homework. Yeah, it is important to do your homework. Important is the adjective here, and we have 2 plus do, which is like 2 plus infinitive. Okay, it is important to do your homework, and you can add many, many more. Like, I am glad to hear that. See, I'm glad to hear that. Glad is an adjective. To hear is 2 plus infinitive. And pattern number 4, the last one that we have, is verb plus question word plus 2 plus infinitive. So let's write it. Verb plus question word plus 2 plus infinitive. Okay, so an example for this can be like, I don't know where to go. For example, on Eid or on Nowruz, right? Or holidays. Verb is this one, don't know. It's the negative one. You can put the positive one as well. Question word is like in here, where. You can use the other WH words as well, like what, who, which, how, or those things. And after that, you have 2 plus infinitive. I don't know where to go, right? Very, very easy. Any questions in 2 plus infinitive and its patterns? Very good. Okay, so let's continue and check this one. Okay, now this one is a bit longer, so let's see what it is. Okay, so this one is the comparatives and superlatives. Okay, the comparatives and superlatives of adjectives and adverbs are very common in English. So first, we're going to start with the comparative. So we use the comparative adjectives or the comparative adverbs to compare two things or two actions, and usually, or meaning most of the time, we use the word than. Okay, so kind of like John is more interesting than Michael, or he is richer than he was, or she drives more carefully than all my friends. If we write some examples here as well, let's just put it. And okay, the comparative forms of adjectives and adverbs, okay, or used to what? Used to compare two things or two actions. We use than most of the time, okay? So an example can be like, Sonia, let's say, is shorter than who? Do we have anyone else, guys, here? I don't really remember everyone. Let's try Qudus. Sonia is shorter than Qudus. So this is a very, very simple sentence. You have the adjective, and then you have than as well, and then you're comparing two things, let's say, but people here is better, yeah? So two people here, let's say. You can also change it and make it even different. Sonia is taller than Qudus. Now, again, you're using kind of the same structure, but the adjective is now different, right? And if you don't like shorter, if you don't like taller, you can bring many more, like Sonia is more intelligent, right? But see, there are some differences that you should know. More intelligent than Qudus. Sorry, yeah, okay. Sonia is more intelligent than Qudus. The moment you say, or the moment you use intelligent, the adjective intelligent, now you cannot add er. Okay, you cannot what? Add er. We'll talk about it very briefly because it's actually not in the book. I mean, this part, I believe it's not mentioned like that well in the book, but it was actually taught in A2 levels and as well. But we'll see, okay? So for this one, it's not like the like er or the suffix er at the end, but you're just putting more before the adjective, okay? And these are all adjectives. What if we go to an adverb? We can select Sonia rides bicycles or bikes better than who? Better than, once again, Kudus. Okay? Sonia rides bikes better than Kudus. Now in here, this better is actually not an adjective. This is called an adverb because it's talking about the verb ride. So then is again there, see, like all of them, and you have the other person as well. In here, you're comparing actions of these two people. Okay, if you want, you can also continue and say like then Qudus does, but you know, most people now don't say it because it's already implied that you're not comparing the bike riding to Qudus, you're comparing bike riding of Sonia to the bike riding of Qudus. Okay, so yeah, this is it, very easy. But what about the superlative? Now this is the superlative part. We use superlative adjectives and adverbs to talk about extremes. Extremes is like the highest point, okay? So there's not any comparison there anymore. It's like that is the highest thing. You cannot really bring any changes. And usually we have to use the article the. Okay, you have to use the article the. Okay, so one example can be like let's go with Farnaz. Okay, Farnaz is the most intelligent student. See, I'm technically, you can say I'm comparing her, but I'm not actually comparing her. So this is actually like, the extreme point, the extreme point of intelligence, like the highest degree. Who am I comparing her to then? She's the highest, so there is no one else, okay? That's what it means. If I just write the title, it's good, I think. Superlative forms of adjectives and adverbs. Okay. So, Farnaz is the most intelligent student. You can also continue it with another sentence like James was the tallest student in our class. See, now you're limiting it a bit, right? In our class, it kind of shows that you're, even though you are talking about a very extreme case, but it's not like something in the world, it's just in your class, okay? And if we go with some other examples as well in here, so he played the best I've ever seen him play. This is the adverb here because you're talking about playing, the action playing. So you can change it as well and say like Frozon, Frozon is working the hardest out of all the employees. Okay, Frozon is working the hardest out of all the employees. Now in here, working the hardest, this word, the hardest, is actually the adverb for working. Good? Any questions here? Very good. And one thing, guys, do not forget, okay? Do not forget. We have some other techniques here as well. So I'm not sure if we're going to have the time to talk of all of them, but we will just go briefly over them all, okay? So this one, for example, is like less and least, which is like less is the opposite of more, and least is the opposite of most, okay? We can use it with all adjectives and all adverbs. For example, I'm less happy than I was. It's like, you're not saying that you're sad, but you're not actually saying that you're actually very happy as well. So it's kind of like, lower than the happy. I'm less happy. The other one is like she drives less slowly instead of more slowly, right? And it was the least interesting meeting ever. It means like that is the lowest you can go, okay, in the interesting department, let's say. Another one is like we can use as blank as, or in the blank you can put adverb, you can put an adjective as well, for example. But what does it mean? As plus adjective or as plus adverb plus as is used to show that two things are equal. For example, he's as tall as me, or she drives as carefully as me. Tall, adjective, carefully is adverb. And then you have like we can use not as plus adverb or plus adjective plus as to mean less than. Okay, to mean what? Less than. For example, he isn't as clever as me. Okay, it means like he's less clever than me. I am cleverer than him. It means like I know he is clever. Yes, that is right, but not as clever as me. I'm a bit more clever or cleverer, as the more majority of the people say. Another one can be like she doesn't drive as carefully as me. See, like the not is not directly supposed to be before as. It can also come like after another verb. So drive, so it is connected to the auxiliary verb here. She doesn't drive as carefully as me. It means like she drives less carefully than me. So I know, okay, she drives carefully. I know, but I drive more carefully, right, than her. That's what you actually mean in a way. Another one like, okay, we often use comparatives or as plus as to compare past with the present. Now, this is really good because it's mostly kind of like you're comparing two of the same things. Like he's much better than he was. In the past, he was, for example, 50% good at what he did, and now he's 80% good at what he did. Another one is like he's not as bad as last time. Last time he was very bad. This time he was bad, but not as much. Okay. And then you have like we often use superlatives with ever and the present perfect, to emphasize, let's say, to put emphasis on some things. Like we can also write a good example for this. It can be like, let's write it superlative with present perfect, and we have to use ever. Okay, so it's mostly comes in the form of a clause, right? A relative clause, I believe. So for example, you can say like the that is the biggest TV I have ever seen. See? Now, your sentence is correct even without I've ever seen. Your sentence is correct even without I've ever seen. That is the biggest TV. But when you add I've ever seen, you're using the present perfect, which is like talking about actions that destroyed in the past and continued up to now, or at least has a connection to now. You're showing that, this is still true. To this day, this is the biggest one I've seen. This is the what? The biggest one I've ever seen. An example from the book is like, this is the best meal I've ever eaten, or it was the least interesting book I've ever read. Okay? Yeah, and these are the rules about the adverbs and the adjectives for changing them. So let's just go over them quickly. First one is like in adjectives department. If it's one syllable, it takes er and or est with the added article of the. Okay. If it's an adjective, like a two-syllable, let's say, adjective that ends in y, like easy, friendly, and these things, they mostly also take er, but the y changes to an I. For example, easy changes to easier, and it can also take est, but again y changes to I, and then it takes est and it adds the as well, the easiest. Okay, then you have like friendly, friendlier, the friendliest. But then you come to adjectives that are two or more than two syllables, but they don't end in y. but what? They don't end in y. So they are like careful, right? Changes to more careful and the most careful. And interesting changes to more interesting and the most interesting. But some of these adjectives are called irregular adjectives. It means like they do not follow. They what? They do not follow the rules. For example, good is actually a one-syllable adjective, so it's supposed to take er and it must become gooder, gooder, but we don't have gooder. We don't have gooder. So we have to say good changes to better and then goes on to become the best. Bad, worse, the worst, far, further, the furthest, or farther and the farthest with a little difference in meaning. Clever, cleverer, and the cleverest. Quiet, quieter, and the quietest. Bored, tired, or ill becomes more and the most. For example, the most bored or more bored, more tired, the most tired, and ill, the most ill or more ill, even though they have technically one syllable. Okay? But when you come to the adverbs, it's a little different story. Okay, the one syllable ones have the same thing, like they take er and est, but two or more syllable, this time there's kind of like no, what do you say, no speaking of the ones that end in y, okay? Two or more syllables than two, you're gonna select often, for example, changes to more often and the most often. So you're using more for the comparative degree and the most for the superlative degree, okay? Carefully, it ends in y, but you don't care. You're gonna say like more carefully and the most carefully. And it also has some irregular adverbs. So well, which is like the adverb of good, it changes to better and not welly, or it doesn't take, let's say, ly, or it doesn't take more well, okay? Well changes to better and better changes to best. Then you have badly changes to worse and the worst. Far changes to farther and the farthest. Once again, you get it. And then you have early, earlier, and the earliest. Okay? Very, very simple. Do you have any questions in these little rules that we have here? No. Okay, so let's go and talk about a very, very easy thing called used to. Okay, now for used to, guys, I have to come back here to talk about the pronunciation as well. So first thing that we should know is the pronunciation, the what? The pronunciation of the word or of the phrase used to, okay? So the pronunciation of it is going to be like a Y and a schwa. I'm sorry, but my keyboard does not have a schwa, so I'm gonna go with that, okay? Let me, okay, yeah, so you're gonna have an S after that, and you're gonna have a T and a schwa again, okay? So you are not going to say use and then you don't have the D as like used, okay? It's not like that. You don't say used to, or used to. It's very hard. Just say used to, used to, used to, okay? Very easy. Don't even, focus on a lot. Just make it as simple as possible. Used to, used to, used to. For example, I used to. I used to, okay, like this. I used to. I used to what? I used to, I used to play football, or I used to play soccer, okay? Kind of like that. The negative one, I will just mention it here and then we'll talk about how to make a negative. So the negative one, because when you're using didn't, from the word used to, you have to remove the D, right? So it becomes like this. Now people say, okay, so how should I read this? They both have the same meaning. Sorry, they both have the same pronunciation. So you're going to say like, I didn't used to. I didn't used to. I didn't used to what? I didn't used to watch movies. See, I didn't used to. Now, the used to part and this used to part, both of them are pronounced in the same way. Okay? Let's write it. Y, schwa, st, schwa. Used to. Used to. Okay? So this was the pronunciation part. The structure of it is like using a subject plus used to plus, I would go with an like infinitive or just let's call it a verb 1. It's much easier, and then you continue it. Okay, and the negative one is like a subject plus didn't used to, okay, plus verb 1 once more, and then continue. And the question can be like, of course, did comes first, subject after that, used to after that, verb 1 after that, and you continue. Okay. And what is the usage or this structure of it? Sorry, the usage of this. So the structure is the usage. Sorry, why am I saying structure? The usage or the use of used to. Yeah, it has a lot of uses. Maybe that's the problem. It is for past situations. For what, guys? Past situations. Okay. Why is it not working? Okay. And if we come down a bit, we can make it much clearer, like past habits and past states. Okay. For both of them, we can use used to. Okay. So one example for past habits can be like I used to eat eggs for breakfast when I was a child. And the state one can be like she used to be happy when she was in America. Okay, she used to be happy when she was in America. Very, very easy sentences, and I think it's clear. Do you have any questions here, guys? What is the question? Someone said yes, guys. Or did I hear it wrong? Okay, okay. Let's go with Unit 8, guys. Okay, so in Unit 8, it has the passive, and you have the passive of which tenses, the passive of present, and past simple. Very, very easy. So the passive of it is like very easy, but and it even made it easier for us by just saying that you have to use it only and only for two tenses, present and past. Okay, so the passive voice, like in comparison to the active voice, is that passive voice focuses on object and not actually on the subject, right? A subject or the subject from the active sentence in the passive voice is actually not even important. If you don't even write it, no one is going to even say anything. The object of active sentence comes and changes itself into the subject of the passive sentence. Okay, so for example, let's write an active sentence. We can say like Fatima ate the cake. Fatima ate the cake, right? What is Fatima, guys? Yeah. Fatima is subject. So let's write it below. Okay. Okay. What is 8? Very good. That is our verb. It's verb 2, but yeah, you don't need to say it. And the cake? Object. Very good. Okay, so if we change it to passive, then we have to say, or we have to bring the cake as our new subject. So we can say the cake. Okay. Now, we are going to use something called the general universal structure of passive. Okay. General structure of the passive voice. What is it? The general structure of the passive voice is like be plus verb 3. Done. Okay. So when I have the cake, now I have to bring what? The be form or the be verb. But the form of be that I have to choose depends on the tense of my active sentence. My active sentence is in what tense, guys? Do you know it? My ate the cake. What is it? It is past Simple, right? So when I want to bring a be verb, I also have to bring it that in accordance with the past simple. So I'm going to say like the cake was, not were, because the cake is only one. So we're going to say the cake was. The cake was what? Now I'm going to bring verb 3. Now the verb 3 is chosen from the main verb of my active sentence. It is ate. So the verb 3 of that is eaten. Cake was eaten. Done. The sentence is done, no big problem. But if you want to continue it, you can add something called a by phrase. You can call it a what? A by phrase. Now a by phrase is very easy. Let's just say what it is. It's like adding by plus agent. Agent is like the subject of your active sentence. Okay, so it can be like, was eaten by who? By Khatama. Okay, but if you don't write by Khatama, no one is even going to say anything because your sentence is not wrong. Any questions?
No.
Very good then. Okay, so yeah, and if we go on with the present as well, so we gave only one example for the past. For the present, we can say like Sonia. No, not eats. Let's change it. Yeah, drinks juice every day. Can you say it, guys? Who can change it? If you can raise your hand and say it. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Drink by Sonia every day.
Okay, just wait. Every day. Okay. First of all, we have to use what verb form? Mm-hmm. So what is the third form of drink? Very good. And we also need what? Uh-huh. So how can we add that? What is this? What is it past? Present, right? So for the present, can we use was? Is very good. Juice is drunk by Sonia every day. If you don't want to mention Sonia, just remove it. Not a big problem. Any questions? Okay. So let me go to a new page. Okay, what do we have here? Okay, we have present perfect with for and since. Not very confusing, but I do need to ask you. Do you know what present perfect is? Present perfect simple, but what it is, how we use it? I believe no. So let me say it, guys. The present perfect is actually, let's say, it is used to talk about. Let's try talk about an action or an event or state that happened in the past and has continued up to now. Okay? Or you can say it's an action or event or state that happened in the past or that is started in the past. Let's say that started in the past and finished in the past, but has a connection to the present time. Has a what? Has a connection. Okay. Um, And one more, we can just write it, but it's good to know it like this, but it can be, categorized in one of the first two as well, okay? Life experience. But be careful without mentioning the time, okay? So these are three of the most common usages of present perfect mostly found in your books. So we're going to go with the structure as well. Okay, the structure of this is like subject plus have or has, depending on the subject, plus verb 3, plus object or complement, okay? Now, the negative one is, of course, you're just adding not to have or has, can make it negative. And the question you're just bringing, let's write it, bringing the have or has at the beginning of the sentence is going to form a question. Okay, so yeah, these things are okay. Now, what does, or how does for and since come in, right? So we use, let's write it, we use for and since to talk about the time in the present perfect. So what do you mean? Let's check now. When we use for is mostly used to talk about duration of an action or of an event or of a state, okay? And since is kind of like talking about the starting point of an action, an event, or a state, okay? If we check some examples, we can say like for, so I have lived in Kabul for, let's say 19 years. See, I have lived in Kabul for 19 years. And if we change it and we go to this one, I can say like I have lived in Kabul for, sorry, not for, since. Now duration was 19 years, so that was the length of time. But if we come with since, now it's the starting point. When did it start? When did this action start, or when did this state start? Okay, I have lived in Kabul since 20 2000, sorry, not 20, 2005, let's say 2004, whichever is good. Yeah, you choose one. Yeah, so I've lived in Kabul since 2004 and I've lived in Kabul for 19 years. Just shows the two of the usages with for and since. And as you can see, all of the both of these examples are the first usage, I believe. Yeah, an action or event or state that happened in the past and has continued up to now. So they first happened or started in the past and now they're still continuing. I am still living in Kabul. Any questions? Very good. Let's continue with the other one. Okay, first conditional. First conditional. So what is it? How do we use it? We use the first conditional to talk about a possible future situation and the result of that situation. Done. So what are we going to write here? Future conditional. Sorry, I'm not even thinking right. First conditional. We use it. It is used to talk about future possibility with a condition. With a condition. Done. Very easy. It is used to talk about a future possibility with a condition. Okay. Now, this is a bit more simple. I think it might help us to understand it better. Let's check the structure once as well. So the structure of this is like, a first conditional clause is going to be like, is going to have at least one clause for the conditional and one clause for the result. So we can go in and write it here and say like the if clause is going to be starting with an if and then a clause. Okay, so but let's write it here as well. You're going to have a subject plus what, guys? Plus what you're going to have? Can you see it here? If the weather is good on the weekend, we will go to the park, right? If the weather is good, is, so what tense is that? So we're going to write if plus subject plus present simple plus. Now, you're going to have a comma there because you brought the if clause at first, but you know, it's okay. If you change it, then you change the places, I mean, you will not need a comma. Okay, if plus subject plus present simple plus, after that, you're going to have your main clause, subject plus. This time, you're going to have a future, sorry, future with will or going to, but you know, most people like to use will, so I'm not going to change it a lot, but you can add might depending on how sure you are about your sentence, okay? And if we add some examples here, we can say like, if Sonia kills her friend today, she will be arrested by the police. See? Very easy sentence, right? So this is like a first conditional example. It's talking about a future possibility. The future possibility is that she will be arrested, right? And the condition for that is that she kills her friend. If she doesn't kill her friend, so of course she will not be arrested. Okay, that's what makes it so easy to use this simple definition. Any questions? Sorry, not examples. Do you have any questions? Very good. And okay, come here, verb patterns. Now the verb patterns part is a bit confusing because you know we have to have a good list of it. You know, we have to have a list to understand and memorize the list every time that we get to get the chance to do so. But I need to just tell you what it is actually. The verb pattern or the verb patterns in English are mostly in two different patterns. Okay, so we can say that verbs can be used in two different patterns. One is that some verbs, again, let's write it, some verbs can be followed by a gerund, and some other verbs can be followed by an infinitive. Okay. Now, the problem that most people have here is that they don't know this part. They don't know what those some verbs and some other verbs are. So for that reason, we cannot do anything, but the only thing that we can do is to give you a list of PDF or something like the list of words that you can memorize. And whenever you get the time to do so, study it. So, but we can give you one or two examples of it, of course. So if we check here, let's go with the first one, the verbs that are mostly followed with gerund. One of them is like mind, right? So you can say like, I don't mind standing up. I don't mind standing up. It means like I don't care if I have to stand up. It's okay. I don't get angry or I don't get frustrated. Another example that we have in here with gerund in here, sorry, where did they put it? Yeah, this is the one. Okay, sorry. Yeah, describe, discuss, enjoy, finish, not mind, stop. So let's go with enjoy, right? So we can select enjoy and we can write she enjoys playing video games. See, like standing up or playing video games, these are our gerunds. Okay, and if you come to the other one, some other verbs can be followed by an infinitive. Now they are these ones, like choose, decide, want. If you remember, we also talked about it a bit about some of them, like choose and remember. I think we talked about it. So we're going to bring one or two examples. So again, want, you can say like he wants to go to America, right? He wants to go, to go. This is kind of the infinitive that we have here. And another one like is like offer. Let's go with the taxi driver offered to help the passenger with her luggage. Okay, so very easy, very easy. But then we have another little problem. So some verbs can be followed by both gerunds and infinitives. So for that one, so we have to know some, okay? So in the book, it has only given you about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. So they are like, you know, begin, start, continue, prefer, like, and love. Let's go with just love and see if there are any, you know, more examples that we have. So for the gerund ones, for example, you can say like, I love eating chocolate. And for infinitive one, you can say like, I love to eat chocolate. Okay, so that's how you can say it with literally not a lot of changes in them. Okay, so that's very, very good. And of course, I do suggest studying this page as well whenever you get the time, and also studying a list from the internet about verb patterns. Just you need to write verb patterns or just write verbs. Let's write, no, let me just type in what you need to write. You can write like verbs followed by gerunds and infinitives PDF list. If you just type this on Google, you're going to take a lot of PDFs from there. Yeah, it's really, really good. Please do not forget to do so. Okay, coming down, guys. We have second conditional now, right? So the second conditional is also from the family of the conditionals that we just talked about, which was first conditional once we did. Now we are going to talk about the second one. Okay, now the second conditional is like we use the second conditional when we imagine. This is a key word, don't forget it. We use the second conditional when we imagine a situation in the present or the future. Okay, the situation is unreal, unlikely, or sometimes impossible completely. Okay, so let's see how we can form it, and hopefully it will be very, very easy for you. Let's write second conditional. So the second conditional, let's just write the uses. For the uses, we can say that it is talking about, what was that? Unreal or imaginary or impossible future, or sometimes you can also go with present situations. Okay, we're trying to make it as short as possible, so I hope it's good. Another one is like a structure for it. Let's talk about the structure. The if clause, if it comes first, then you have if, of course, then you have a subject, then you have a past simple tense. Okay, and then you have like a comma before you start your other clause, and then you're going to go with subject plus would, which is a modal verb, and plus infinitive or verb one. Let's just call verb one. Okay, and of course, if you want, you can continue to complement an object as well. So, you know, let's go with one or two examples here. First one can be like if the US president came to our country, let's choose a subject. Let's go with James. James would be happy. Would be happy. So my verb one is be, and my would is of course would. So if the US president came to our country, James would be happy. Okay, the same, you can make many, many more. Let's just write one more, and this time change the places. We can say like who, yeah, Matt would work hard if his dad got him a new laptop. See? So kind of like if the dad bought Matt a new laptop, he would also start working hard. Okay? So very easy examples. I hope you learned it. Did you learn it, guys? Do you have any questions? Very good then. Um, if you very good. Okay, so we're gonna go with. Should we go with the other one? It's kind of near the ending. Okay, guys, it's okay. We are going to leave this one and the remaining grammars for the next day because I think we also have to have one more review day before your exams and stuff. Okay, so you know, I believe it's done for now. If you have any questions about any of the grammar topics that we discussed today, of course, you can just ask it right now. Do you have any? Oh, very good, and very good. I think your other friends might also not have any questions. Okay, then, guys. Yeah, that's very good. Let me stop recording. Sorry, and I'll give you the homework and stuff.